When you're factoring the sum and difference of two cubes, you're looking for these patterns. You're looking for a sum or a plus sign between two cubes, or you're looking for a subtraction or difference between two cubes. Now let's talk about what we mean about cubes. When you have a cube, that's the same number times itself 3 times. So 8 is a cube because that's 2 times 2 times 2. 27 would be a cube because it's 3 times 3 times 3. X cubed can be a cube because it's x times x times x. We can even have numbers and letters together that represent cubes, like 125 a cubed, because that's the number 5 times 5 times 5 and the letter a times a times a. So again, to have a cube, you need to have the same number 3 times exact, the same number letter 3 times exact. Once you have that pattern, this is how you factor. You're going to have a short parenthesis and a long parenthesis. So short, long. You're going to, in the short, ask yourself, what do I cube to get this right here? In our case, it's an A. Then you're going to ask yourself, what do I cube to get this right here? In our case, a B. The signs are very important when you're factoring these cubes. The sign in the original problem is going to be the sign in the short parenthesis. After that, the rule takes over. It's going to go plus, minus, plus. So when you have addition, a sum, it must go plus, minus, plus. Now, what do we fill in the other squares with? Well, we are going to take and square, multiply, and square. So go back to your short. Look at that first one, and you're going to square that. So a squared. Go back to your short. You're going to multiply those two people together. So a times b is ab. And go back to your short, and you're going to square that. So b squared is b squared, and that's your pattern. And the good news is it's the same pattern on the difference. The only thing that changes are the signs. So let's practice that rule one more time. You're going to have a short and you're going to have a long. In the short, you're going to go back to the original problem and you're going to say, what did I cube to get this here, which is an A? What do I cube to get this, which is a B? Whatever sign is in the original problem, that's the sign that has to go in your short. After that, the rule says minus, plus, plus. So anytime there is a difference or a subtraction, it's always going to be minus, plus, plus. Now, the spaces here are filled just like they were up there. You're going to go to your short and square. Then you're going to multiply the two, and then you're going to square again. So I'm going to go to the short. I'm going to square that to get a squared. I'm going to go to the short and multiply those two together to get AB. And I'm going to go to the short and I'm going to square that to get B squared. Now, let's take a look with some examples and you'll see that it's pretty easy once you get that pattern down. In this first one, we see that it does make cubes. We have x times x times x to get x to the third. And for 8, we have 2 times 2 times 2. So make your short and make your long. Ask yourself, what do I cube to get this first term, which we saw was an x? What do I cube to get the second term, which is a 2? 2 times 2 times 2. Whatever sign is here, that determines the sign in the short parenthesis. And then the rule says minus, plus, plus. Again, that's going to be set in stone from the way the problem is written down. Minus, plus, plus. All right, now let's fill in these spaces here. We're going to go to the short and we're going to square. Then we're going to multiply. And then we're going to square. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to look at that term and I'm going to square it, x squared. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to multiply those two together and get 2 times x, which is 2x. And then I'm going to square the last one. And 2 squared is 4. And it's simple. All right, let's take a look at the second one. So we see that we have our pattern. To get y to the third, that's y times y times y. To get 125, that's 5 times 5 times 5. Now, if that's not something you're just familiar with, just off the top of your head, then go to your calculator and use that. Play around with numbers like 3 times 3 times 3, or 4 times 4 times 4, or 5 times 5 times 5, or 8 times 8 times 8, whatever you have to do. Or you can use your cube root button. It looks like that on some calculators. On the 84s, it's math 4 to get to that. So it fits the pattern, so do your short and do your long. Whatever do I cube to get this is a y. Whatever do I cube to get this is a 5. The sign is determined by the original problem. Since that's a plus, I'm going to have a plus here. Then the rule says plus, minus, plus. And again, that's determined from the get-go. Now we're going to fill in these spaces. We're going to square, multiply, and square. Go back to your short. Square the y, the first term, and get y squared. Multiply those two together. 5 times y is 5y. And then you're going to square the last. Square your 5 and you get 25. Okay, let's take a look at example 3. Let's make sure that we fit our pattern, and we do, because 27a to the third is 3a times 3a times 3a. 1 is just 1 times 1 times 1. So let's do our short and let's do our long. So ask yourself, whatever do I cube to get this, which is a 3a? Whatever do I cube to get this, which is a 1? Whatever the sign is right here, that's going to be the sign that goes in the short. Then the rule says minus, plus, plus. Okay, and again, that's determined by the original problem, minus, plus, plus. Fill in your spaces with square, multiply, and square. So if I square the first one, the 3 and the a, and that's going to be 9a squared. You got to square the 3 and the a. Multiply the two together. 3a times 1 is going to be 3a. And then you're going to square the 1 to get 1. Okay, let's take a look at example 4. See that you have your pattern. 64 happens to be 4x times 4x times 4x. 343y to the third is 7y times 7y times 7y. And again, that may be one where you need to go to the calculator, hit your math 4 to get the cube root button. All right, then we'll do a short and we'll do a long. In the short, we're going to ask ourselves, what did we cube to get this right here, which is 4 and x? We're going to ask ourselves, what did we cube to get this right here, which is 7 and y? Whatever sign is in the original problem, that's the sign that goes in your short parenthesis. Then the rule says minus, plus, and again, that's determined from the get-go, from whatever the original problem has. Now fill in your spaces with square, multiply, and square. So you're going to look at the first term and square the 4 and the x. So square those and you get 16x squared. Multiply the 2 together. So you're going to be multiplying 4 times 7, which is 28xy. So you get 28xy. And then you're going to square the last. Square your 7 and square your y, and you get 49y squared. All right, let's take a look at example 5. And we can see that this also fits the pattern. To get a to the third, b to the third, that's ab times ab times ab. For 216, if you're not familiar, that's 6 times 6 times 6. Use your calculator. So you have 6c times 6c times 6c. All right, short, long, and if you think you're comfortable, why don't you pause the video, try it on your own, and then come back and check to see how you did. So in the short, we have to see what did we cube to get a cubed b cubed, which was ab. And what do we cube to get 216c cubed, which is 6c. Whatever sign is here, that's the sign that you put there. Since this is subtraction, it goes minus, plus, plus. And again, that's your rule of the signs, minus, plus, plus. Now let's fill in our spaces. Square, multiply, square. So I'm going to square the a and the b to get a squared, b squared. I'm going to multiply the 2 together, and that's going to give me 6abc. So 6abc. All right, then I'm going to square the last. So 6 squared and c squared is 36c squared. All right, let's take a look at number 6. When I look at 6, as it is, it doesn't fit the pattern. I don't see that this is the same thing times the same thing times the same thing. However, this cube is making me think that there could be something going on. So if I'll take out a greatest common factor first, take out a 3 from both terms. 24 divided by 3 is 8. And then 3 divided by 3 is 1, so I'm just left with n to the third. A lot of times, once you get out a greatest common factor, you'll see that you actually do have cubes. So bring your 3 over, because it's definitely part of our answer, and then do your short and your long. And ask yourself, right here, isn't that 2 times 2 times 2, so put a 2. Right here, isn't that n times n times n? So an n. The sign is determined by this, so plus, and then it goes plus, minus, plus, and that's determined by the rule for the signs from the original problem. Fill in your square, multiply, square. So look at this and square that 2 to get 4. Multiply those together. 2 times n is 2n. Square the last one, and n squared is n squared. All right, last one. Looking at this, again, it doesn't appear to fit the pattern right now, but if I will take out a greatest common factor first, then I bet we're going to have what we want. So look at your numbers. They both have a 2 that goes into those. And look at your letters. Don't they both have M's? So take out an M. So 54 divided by 2 is 27. On your M's, you have 4. You're taking out 1, so that leaves you with 3. Plus 250 divided by 2 is 125. The M factors away, and you're just left with n to the third. We didn't touch that, so bring that down. All right, make sure you bring out your greatest common factor. He's definitely part of our answer. And then short and long. So right here, whatever do we cube to get that? Well, that's 3m times 3m times 3m. 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. M times m times m is m to the third. So that's a 3m. Here, that's 5n times 5n times 5n. Your sign is determined to be a plus because that was what was in the original problem. Then the rule says plus, minus, plus. And again, that's determined from the original problem, that it's a sum of 2 cubes. All right, now fill in your spaces, square, multiply, and square. And you always go back to the short parenthesis to determine what's going to go in the long parentheses. So square 3 and m to get 9m squared. Multiply the 2 together. 3 times 5 is 15mn. So that's 15mn. Then square your last. 5 and n, square those. 5 squared is 25. N squared is n squared. If you need more help or practice, be sure to watch my practice worksheet video on this topic. There you can watch me work more examples. Then you can even pause the video, try the problems on your own, and then start the video back to check your work with me. And again, if this video is helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel and even share with a friend. See you next time.